Guess who got a better mic? It's me. I got the better mic.
Welcome back to Attack the Titan, the series taking place in a dystopia where mere mortals face the wrath of cannibalistic basketball players, angry because the NBA did not allow LeBron to win the recent finals, instead writing in the script that pieces of chicken would win. Now with new furry mode. This time around, it's up to the plot to not make me want to live in the world of AOT, and up to editing ninjas to not put too many JoJo references over the Beast Titan. So take arms, get hard, and check your walls, because you may find someone there. It's worth mentioning before we get into it that Season 2 opts for a completely different direction. We're going to be focusing on the characters that were sorely lacking any meaningful characterization for most of the first season, so our main trio kind of takes a backseat this time around. Alright, let's run it. So there's a recap of the first season, which I'm fine with, but it opens like how Shrek does. I just found that funny. So we pick up just after the events of the first season. They're checking out the wall boy, and Pastor Nick is like, they seal it up, but it's clear the pastor knows quite a bit, so now he's on the chopping block. Good thing Eren didn't kill him in Season 1, huh? He plays hard to get, so Hanji does a Batman and dangles him over the wall, but this guy is content with death. I guess 'cause religion? They never really explain what exactly this religion entails. I know it worships the walls, but they also talk about some god or lord. They refer to Sina, Rose, and Maria as gods, but Nick only appeals to a god singular here. This isn't really a criticism, just something I find confusing. If there is an expanded explanation for these guys, let me know.
Give me your engagement, you...
So the interrogation fails, and a soldier arrives in an attempt to inform Erwin that there are titans inside Wall Rose. We then rewind 12 hours. So for reasons we'll learn, the scouts are all gathered together in one place, without weapons. They consider sneaking out, or at least finding out why they're here, but then Titans attack from the south. The reason was to find if anyone in this regiment were Titans, and this attack seemingly vindicates them. Don't know how they were going to test it since they didn't know this attack was happening, but okay. They're low on time and have to evacuate while their superiors hold the Titans off. They ask if anyone knows the area, and Sasha does, along with Connie. But wait, Connie's village is in the south, where the Titans came from. Shoutouts to these Titans running techniques, by the way. Still better than Ezra Miller's. Mike splits off in an attempt to lead the Titans away from the group. We are told that his skill is second only to Levi's. This is prompted as it is the leaders attempting to convince the others that he can handle himself. Dialogue doing okay so far. Although I'm interested to see this skill in action. The last few elites that got compared to Levi didn't end so well. He starts going off, and we cut to... another flashback. A flashback in a flashback. Yep, this is an anime. Eren's mother is here, and she tells Eren what is presumably going to be the theme of this season. This is reminding me more and more of the Flash movie, and I just referenced Ezra the Hawaiian Punch Clown Miller a second ago. So, the arc for Eren this time around is probably going to be something like Eren rushes at someone he hates, gets punished for it, gets bailed out by the skin of his teeth, and is more patient going forward. Telegraphing his arc like this does make it a bit predictable, but it by no means stops it from being earned if executed properly. Although, I do want to mention that the reason he beat Annie in the first place is because he charged without thinking. After getting beaten, he literally went berserk and stopped thinking, allowing him to put aside his ideals and defeat her. I agree with Eren's mother's sentiment here, but it's weird you would reward him for doing this when you wanted to make a point of it being bad. Word of the breach reaches our main gang, and we cut back to Michael. He is destroying them, but there's one abnormal that seems a little too different. It walks like a regular, but it looks like Donkey Kong. It picks up Mike's horse and throws it. He dodges it, but he rolls off the roof and into the loving arms of another Titan. That is just unfortunate. Resourceful of the Titan to make him dodge into another, but unfortunate that one happened to park there. Poor guy. The furry Titan speaks, and we are greeted by the incredible voice of Takehiro Koyasu. Look at that face he makes. He tells this messed up birth defect of a Titan to stop, but it doesn't, so he pops its head. He didn't have control over it, it just stood where it needed to. Man. Bro, that face, man. It asks Kid Named Finger what that ODM gear is exactly, but he doesn't budge, so he takes it away. Dio has now discovered the power of the enemy stand. Meech steps back up, so Monkey orders his homies to kill him. He dies. terrified and screaming. To be honest, given this guy's skill, I think it's a bit too cowardly having him die like this. Skill implies seeing constant battle, and yet he lacks composure entirely. Sure, he's faced with the unfamiliar, but the Levi squad didn't break down into tears until their own started dying. Blot wasn't on his side, I guess. So the Beast Titan is here, and is actually pretty intimidating. He is clever and ruthless. He seems almost casual in the way he conducts his interrogation, giving a sense that he is experienced in it. His intro actually doesn't make me question his entire plan, unlike another intelligent Titan, but it still manages to make him out as a force to be reckoned with. Good job here. Although I will say it is a bit cheap to introduce these characters like the Levi Squad and Kid Named Finger and have our antagonists curb stomp them to make them look intimidating, mostly because the characters they're killing exist solely to die and aren't actually people. Wait a minute, so we knew he was an elite already, but Mike is second to Levi in skill? So where was he on the 57th scouting mission? The way we see him, he would have been invaluable to have against the female Titan, so why not be on the Levi Squad? Uh-oh, Isayama-san, why? You're hurting Erwin and Levi's intelligence retroactively. You made Mike this strong just to introduce a villain and didn't think about the repercussions on prior events. No! Where was Mike at Trost? At the 57th mission? At Stohes. Darn. That being said, I do want to bring attention to something that actually adds to Erwin's intelligence, that being his suspicion of the 104th Survey Corps group. You see, Annie Leonhardt had Survey Corps gear. You could argue that maybe she just kept her Survey Corps uniform before she joined the military police. But then where did she get that smoke signal gun? The only explanation, unless she robbed the Survey Corps armory somehow, is a traitor in the Survey Corps. Otherwise, how would she have one and know its significance? Unfortunately, Annie is an idiot because she fell for Armin's trap. You see, if she had informants in the Survey Corps, then surely they'd have been able to tell her about the plan to expose her in advance. So that's technically a point against there being a traitor, but I still think it's reasonable to check at least. Picking back up, Armin theorizes that since Annie could get hard and there are Titans in the walls, maybe Titan abilities made the walls themselves. Fair assumption, as I don't believe the Titans would let a wall be built on top of them. Smart man. So the Survey Corps moves out and Pastor Nick is brought along. I guess they arrested him? Don't know why they can do that, it's never explained. Doubt the military police would sit back for this, but that's for season 3. So the group theorizes that whatever Pastor Nick is not saying is probably more important than humanity surviving, since he is prioritizing it. We then get back to the 104th. Oh, Sasha backstory time? Are we going to add some depth to a Nothing Burger character? I'm down. So her village was remote and her people were hunters, but others were driven to her land after Wall Maria fell. She didn't want to give up her traditions, but her father saw through that and noticed that her real fear was learning to live with others. That's it. Okay, so, what did that tell us? She likes food and didn't want to live with others. Except cross that second trait off because she got over it already. From the literal scraps we got in season 1, she was the exact opposite of either antisocial or unkind. Her arc finished off-screen. Present day, Sasha notices some Titan footprints heading to her village. Sasha enters and the village looks completely new as it's been 3 years since she's seen it. So she walks in on a half-Titan, half-man eating his wife alive in front of their daughter. That is horrific. So naturally she slashes the man with an axe multiple times, but it keeps regenerating too fast. Huh? Was the axe not sharp enough? The Survey Corps steel blades cut through them like butter. I know the blades are ultra-hard steel or whatever, but I don't know what difference a grade of steel makes, so I'm just going to leave this one open. I'm not a sword guy, so I'm probably wrong on this, but I'm including it just in case. Swordheads, let me know. So Sasha leaves the wife to be eaten alive. Tough call to make, but understandable, and takes off on horseback with the girl. Or I would say that, but Sasha scares the horse. The Titan drops the woman and gives chase, though. Now, Sasha has gotten scared in close encounters with the average basketball player before, so writing-wise, I think this works. That and we seem to be wanting to characterize her as cowardly at the moment. The horse senses her panic and moseys on out of there. They run on foot now and narrowly escape over the bridge. We then get another flashback to training camp. Another flashback right after the last one. Yep, this is still Attack on Titan. Ymir is making fun of Sasha for not talking like a country fella, and Krista tells her to bug off because Sasha can talk how she wants. The dialogue here is straightforward, but we can give the benefit of the doubt that maybe this was something building up over time and is now boiling over. More on Ymir and Krista in this video. A lot more. So Sasha decided to talk like the city folk, her arc coming full circle. She was at first unwilling to be enveloped in the presence of people unfamiliar to her, but off-screen she learned to. Now she's the best of both worlds, telling the girl to run in the most country way possible. At least, I think that's what's happening. She stands and fights, using the weapon she once hunted with. She goes for its eyes, shooting one into its face. But with only one arrow left, she has to make sure it hits. So she stabs it in herself, facing danger head-on, calmly. Thanks to the blood, she slips free and runs off. Then her family shows up. The girl from earlier ran ahead and found them. They were in the area, distributing horses. Her father remarks how she's grown up. And I am left here wondering what I just watched. Sasha Blouse, what are you? I genuinely cannot tell what that arc was. She was scared. But when girl was in danger, she was not scared anymore. Or was it that she was scared of people, but training camp taught her off screen to not be, so she potentially sacrifices herself for a person? Was this an arc at all? This character has had so little screen time and even less development over season 1 that I do not know what to take away from this. Seemingly, her development has been off-screen, preventing anyone from getting invested in her. Who is Sasha Blouse? I have seen the whole show and I can't tell you anything about her except that she likes food. I promise I'm not sexist, by the way, guys. It's just that every time a woman is on screen, I hate it. Real talk, though, this show's female characters are truly pathetic cardboard cutouts that would make even Kevin Feige blush. At least for now. Meanwhile, Connie and co. arrive at his village and find it has been decimated. Instinctively, Connie goes to his house and there is a titan laying atop it. This titan, though, is Gorlock the Destroyer and cannot move, raising the question, how did it get here to begin with? They scout the village and it is empty, not even a body nor bloodstain. Perhaps the civilians escaped. But wait, why would the houses be wrecked if everyone got away safely? Titans don't hate affordable houses, they're not the Californian government. Not to mention, the horses are still here. What could it be? As they leave, the Titan tells Connie, that is unsettling. But I'm going to have to ask why a Titan hasn't spoken before now. Whatever. Reiner snaps Connie out of it and gets him moving. Good old Reiner. I like that guy. So we cut back to the Survey Corps and they're trying to go survey the wall. Ymir is like, so we got no gear, and if the wall is swarming with Titans, we're just kinda dead. Can we not go? And her superior just says, nice opinion, but soldiers don't get to flee in the line of duty. What is wrong with you? If there were actually Titans at the walls, it's possible that this season would not happen. Also, the show kinda ends if Krista dies. She's a little bit important. This officer is both a terrible leader for that call and a terrible human for that sentence she just said. She says the reason for them to stay is to relay her findings to HQ. You can do that yourself, you tart box of Q-tips. If they get chased, they can't defend themselves. You can! It's way too early in the video for me to be yelling like this. Anyways, at the thought of them dying, Krista is like, I wanted to join the Survey Corps, but I know you don't feel the same way. But to my surprise, Ymir reads the subtext and says, no way. Krista, talking like a real person in a manner that was prompted by the situation and not just straight up saying what she thinks, and Ymir responding back to what she's implying instead of what she's saying directly? I take it back, I love women. Krista then asks, valid question. She was under the assumption Ymir did it for her and wants to know before they possibly die, thanks to their idiotic superior, what the real reason is. Krista then notes that Ymir tried to get her to join the military police initially, but she only made top 10 with Ymir's help. Ooh, a mystery. Ymir's response should be packed with juicy character bits. There's something uneasy about the way she delivers that line. Again, credit to the cast. And the sweat on her face is filled with potential interpretations. The music builds atmosphere and mystery, and that look back she gives to gauge Krista's reaction is so interesting. It's like she was hoping she said the right thing, and whatever she's hiding under the surface didn't slip through. Krista is relieved to hear this. I don't want to hear anyone ever tell me that I have too high standards for anime or for AOT. When I first saw this scene, I was instantly intrigued by these two's relationship. The dialogue is natural for their characters. The music is, of course, great. The performances and the subtext had me wanting answers. Who is Krista's family? Why does that matter to Ymir? Is Ymir really here for herself? What is she hiding? I take issue with how we got here, but man, give me more of this scene. So we cut away and... As the different regiments of the Survey Corps scout the wall, there is a noticeable lack of Titans and nobody has found the breach. The two teams meet in the middle, but neither have found the hole. The two groups are tired, and so are their horses. They look around and, oh look, there's a castle. Yay, there's just a castle there. How convenient. By the way, the soldiers didn't know about this. This wasn't the plan or anything to scout for the hole and meet at the castle to rest. It's just there. That's the second building that's just spawned for no reason. Did they build this one too far from the river too? So over with Levi and co, Hanji reveals that Annie's hard thing and the wall are identical in composition. Armin was right. Hanji proposes that Eren could learn this ability and seal up the wall himself. This means that, if it works, they could reclaim Wall Maria. If they did it at night, Eren could do it without interference. Getting back to Shiganshina means getting to that mysterious basement. Levi shows Nick the evacuees to convince him to spill the beans. It has a clear effect on him, so he says something. He says he can't say anything to them and everyone else in the church is the same. But he shares the name of someone they were to watch over. Krista Lenz. Back in the castle, Reiner seemingly finds something of Ymir's that earns him this stare. However, before we get more, the furry boy is back. He is now leading his army of vampires against them at night, wrong show. Also, Connie says, so what, this some kinda Attack on Titan? Side note, and very minor spoilers, I find it very funny that the main characters always guess the Titan names correctly. That one's a Titan, but it's a woman. How about the female Titan? What does its real name turn out to be? It's called the female Titan. That one has armor. It's called the armored Titan. That one is colossal. That one looks like a beast. They always get it right. This might be the pinnacle of nitpicking, but I just kind of find it funny more than anything. The officers with gear attack on Titan. And I've seen enough of this show to know how that ends. Levi's group leave for a mission, and Levi reminds Eren of the theme of this season. I like that we are pointing out that Eren made a dumb decision after the Levi squad died. I also like that it is a decision that Eren would have made. It's just neat writing on Season 1's part. Eren is one-to-one on rageful moments. One time he put himself in danger. The other, he saved everyone. It has its uses, but it cannot be relied on singularly. You need to know when to let go. Granted, the show seems to paint it as more of a black and white, good-bad thing, but I will trust that Isayama was aware of Eren's outburst in Season 1, hopefully maybe. So the Survey Corps leave on a mission to the exact castle that the others are staying at right now. Hopefully that doesn't end up conveniently saving everyone there. But before that, we cut to 2 hours prior. We are telling most of this season non-linearly so far. So the group sets up camp in the castle, and it looks like someone has been there recently. Notably, there is a set of kitchenware here. The benefits of planning things out are that you can foreshadow events in neat little ways like this. Krista asks, to be honest, I find that a pretty easy question to answer at this point, but the show is doing a mystery, so... The group tries to piece together this question, and Connie explains everything about his visit to his village, adding that the Titan there almost reminded him of his mother. Yikes. Reiner tries to shrug off these events, though. Ymir, however, makes fun of him for thinking that in the first place, blushing and sweating as she does. Hold up, why is Ymir a character? What is this? There is subtext to her doing this, but at the same time she hides it in a smart way by picking on someone like she is characterized to do so. Another loss of the bad dialogue so far has been characterization that could have been established in clever ways. You are only learning what people directly exposit to your face. But Ymir is actually doing both. Did Isayama change personalities? It is also worth noting and complimenting that there is a mystery to Ymir here that does not have an obvious answer, unlike the others we've built up. Please, keep this up. She then calls Reiner gay, and Reiner responds with a hearty "no you." Put Ymir in every scene, thank you. She finds a can of food and remarks about its contents. Reiner looks at it, and it's in a different language. That she read aloud. In front of him. Okay, well, she certainly doesn't look like she meant to do that. Darn it, please don't make any more goober moves. This causes Reiner to realize something, but we cut back to the present. The superiors are putting up a fight, but a little guy sneaks in. Reiner runs down to barricade the entrance. Thanks, I almost missed that. Good thing you tell me in case I look away while I'm rolling my eyes. Oh, nah. Reiner's life flashes before his eyes, and it plays a misportrayal of his backstory. Bertolt arrives to back him up, and Reiner says that they have to survive so that they can make it home. Bertolt then agrees. We have some starter pack traits for Reiner at the moment, but there will be more to follow. Bertolt, however, has not been focused on as much. Can't really say he seems interesting because he has little personality so far, but something will be done with him, I'm sure. More backup arrives, and the gang reenacts a scene from Home Alone 2, Lost in Michael Jackson's house. One sneaks up on Connie to eat him from the back because for some reason all of these morons have their backs turned. Reiner saves him and gets his arm bit. I do like that Krista's first instinct is to help, and Ymir's is to stop her from doing so. So this man, Reiner, lifts up the Titan and goes for the window while his arm is being bit. He plans to LTG himself now! But Connie cuts its jaw with a knife that he has for some reason. Good thing he found that 5 seconds ago. That's not how setup and payoff work. You don't set up a few seconds before it's relevant. Story would have been pretty different if Reiner jumped here. So Ymir, who I guess is this season's John, kicks it out the window. So, I have a question. What exactly did that second Titan add to the story? Seriously. In order to have it, we had everyone turn their backs on the only place their enemy could come from, and spawned a knife at the exact moment before we needed it. Reiner got to be a Giga Chad, but we already knew that. We had Krista and Ymir's moment, but we knew that as well. Connie gets to save Reiner, so that's new, but that's about it. To have that contrived scene, we get that Connie will save Reiner if he can. Surprised Bertolt didn't do anything. He seems pretty invested in Reiner's survival. Oh well, not like Reiner matters. Wait a minute, why did you spawn a knife at all? Just pull the spear back from the Titan and have Bertolt or Connie save him. Oh, whatever. It is worth noting that these issues are much smaller than Season 1 so far. Nothing I would consider character or world breaking, aside from that idiot officer. We'll wait for things to really get into motion before I get into which is better, given Season 1 fell apart when we got into the latter half, but I would actually consider this to be good stuff for the most part. Krista helps Reiner deal with his wound, going as far as to rip her own dress to use as a brace, repeatedly apologizing that she wishes she could do better. Reiner says to himself, providing a brief moment of levity and reminding us that he is in fact not gay. This is similar to the moment in Season 1, except it makes sense and the comedy works. Connie apologizes and remarks that he's going to pay Reiner back somehow. Reiner shuts him down, saying that while thinking of some friend who saved him from an attack on Titan. Some strong characterization of Reiner so far. He is headstrong and competent, motivated singularly by his desire to help people like someone once helped him. He will gladly give his life for other people, simply because it is the right thing to do. His ideal version of a soldier is something that he will strive to become. Very reminiscent of Eren with his reckless abandon and idealism in a world that often forces you against such ideals. Connie says that he's not so sure about that, as he probably would not do the same, and I am sitting here thinking, you just did? Wait, so was that Titan attack even meant to characterize Connie as heroic? We don't seem to realize it looks that way, so again, was it just a pointless scene? Connie asks if Reiner was always like this, and Bertolt explains that he used to be a warrior. Reiner wonders, what do you mean by that? But he refuses to elaborate. The superiors almost clean out the Titan horde until Shohei Diotani throws his signature fastball at them. He nails a shot at 2 of them after throwing 1 at the horses. I am once again attempting to resist making a Steel Ball Run reference. The Beast Titan sends more after them now and takes his leave. So the superiors, low on resources and running out of ground, are picked off one by one and die. Now we just have our main group at the top of the tower, awaiting death. Krista wants to help at the cost of her own life, so Ymir chews her out before taking Connie's knife. Ymir tells Krista to live a proud life if she doesn't make it, and to remember their promise. She then jumps off the roof and... Now it's time for another flashback. Kind of a lot now. So there was some winter training, and Krista stayed behind to help some guy out, Ymir staying with her. Ymir tries to convince her to let the guy die, or all of them might, but Krista presses on, determined to make it back with some guy in tow. She also says that Ymir can move ahead by herself if she wants, displaying that she assumes Ymir is worried about herself here. Ymir realizes something though. You see, all this time Krista never once asked for help. If the concern really was some guy, why not beg Ymir to help? Here we are, what I brought up in the Season 1 video. In a horrifying dystopia like this, it would probably be impossible to be both extremely positive and nice and naive all the time. And now we have Ymir calling that exact thing out. In trying to look like a hero, she is dragging this guy to a guaranteed death. This is an act. Krista denies it at first, but can't even finish doing so. Now we get a bit of Ymir backstory. She used to be sneaking around, scrounging for food as a street urchin. One day she overheard a conversation about an illegitimate child being next in line for some important position. They wanted to kill her, but settled on allowing her to change her name and live elsewhere. She was then forced into the Survey Corps. Ymir had nailed Krista as this person. She says that she won't sell her out. Krista asks why follow her. Ymir says that she doesn't know entirely, but refuses to make eye contact as she does. Krista then asks, Ymir instantly shoots it down. Credit to Saki Fujita, Ymir's voice actress, for her performance, and I especially like this line delivery. She keeps her assertive tone here, yet still manages to sound shaky in her voice. Great job. Hatsune Miku! Ymir smiles and looks away as she denies it. She then launches into a speech about the differences between her and Krista. She rebukes Krista for using a fake name and choosing to waste her second lease on life by dying for superficial reasons. All she would do is make the people who ruined her life happy. Ymir declares that if you have the grit to kill, it should be them, not you. Krista remarks that it's too late and there's no way for everyone to live now. Ymir says that perhaps if they drop some guy off the cliff and then make way for the base, he might be found before he freezes to death. Krista says that there's no way he'd survive the fall, so Ymir tosses Krista away and does it herself. Krista tries to stop her, but she vanishes. The music in this scene does a great job of building the tension, but also sounds mysterious. There's a giant footprint where Ymir transformed. So Ymir makes it back before Krista, and so does some guy. Krista wonders how, and so Ymir asks for one thing. Take back your old name and live. It's a great scene, and it even adds to the scene where Sasha interacts with these two. Ymir berates her for not being herself and letting other people get to her, but Krista explains she can do as she pleases, and that doesn't necessarily mean it's for anyone else's sake. Essentially, though, they mean the same thing. These two have very different personalities, but similar beliefs, and their relationship is defined by that exact thing. In addition to that, they have clearly bonded since then to become very close. That earlier scene with Krista asking if Ymir is okay to die for her or for herself is so much more meaningful now. Ymir very clearly seeks kinship and has found it to the point where she is willing to die for it, even without fulfilling whatever revenge she refers to. Krista owes her life to Ymir. On some level, she really is a nice person, given how she seems to value life even after this moment, but her life had made her suicidal to the point where, until called out on it, she was willing to drag someone with her to be remembered as a hero, as a good person. Ymir puts her life on a path towards actually living. These two have found a reason to live through each other. Incredible. And that's not even sarcasm this time. Back to the fight, and Ymir is thrashing these titans. Reiner and Bertolt realize that her titan is the same one that ate their friend. Krista almost falls, but Reiner saves her on instinct. I say on instinct because he is still in recovery mode after seeing Ymir. He then suddenly calms down. Nice touch, I see you. He asks if Krista knew about this, and she says she had no clue. Oh, thank goodness. So that patches up a major issue, because I was about to bring up the fact that Krista knowing Ymir's secret kind of means that humans could know about Titan transformation before Eren, or know even more once he had transformed. Krista, with the way she was characterized, would probably not be able to stay silent about humans having access to a Titan. In addition, Ymir has complete control of her Titan, meaning she would be adequately able to display their abilities and how to use them. This would allow the humans to be significantly more capable against the Titans in general, allow Eren to get stronger, faster, and put them at a significant advantage against the female Titan. She really seems to value everyone, so even if it was between her and Ymir, I don't see Krista either not telling anyone or not having some sort of existential crisis about keeping that secret. We narrowly avoided Krista being assassinated directly after she was made interesting. Whew! Although it does leave me wondering what secret Ymir told her on the mountain. As for why Ymir hid it, I want to talk about that at the end when we have her full characterization for this season, and whether it is in character, as that could potentially be both world-breaking and assassination-y. The Survey Corps discusses what this revelation means and why Ymir seemed to know she was a Titan, yet hid it. Ymir gets overwhelmed and tries to escape up the tower, but when she sees it will put Krista and the others in danger, she jumps back into the fray. Krista tells her off for her hypocrisy and convincing Krista to live for herself only to try and sacrifice her own life. Krista tells Ymir to use the tower to defend the tower, and she does, prompting this shot of 2D and CG elements blending together very well. Impressive. The tower starts falling, and so Ymir gets everyone off. As the rubble settles, Titans rise from it, and look at this one suplexing Ymir by the head. That's just a regular old dude. Ymir's Titan is eaten, and Krista desperately tries to save her, begging her to live so that she can tell her her real name. Just as they are both about to die, the Survey Corps arrives. Yay. Okay, look, I'm sure their reason for showing up here is perfectly valid and all, but jokes aside, I am actually happy Ymir and Krista made it out. All they need to do is not start sucking by the end, and we'll have something special on our hands. Look, my least favorite female character saved my favorites. Now all we need is Ymir to say,
I like this one.
And the cringe will be complete. In the aftermath of the battle, Krista reveals her real name to an injured Ymir. Historia. Ymir falls unconscious with a smile. Brother, man, where did these characters come from? Who is Isayama's ghostwriter? The Survey Corps recovers the others, and Historia pleads for Ymir's sake. She says that Ymir probably kept this secret for fear of speaking up, and that she is definitely on humanity's side. Hanji explains that Historia's last name is Race, and she belongs to a noble family. More on that in Season 3, that's gonna be fun. I notice I say that a lot, but trust me, it's gonna be fun. So Reiner starts tweaking out about almost dying twice. Eren then reminds him of his hometown and he starts calming down. Bertolt then says that they should just go home right now. The garrison group arrives and confirms that there is no hole. How did the Titans get inside the wall then? Reiner then pulls Eren aside and just spills everything, to Bertolt's dismay. Eren, however, is absolutely brain dead and says that he maxed out on thinking already. A bit weird from him, to be honest, considering I'd figure his first reaction to hearing that info would be to charge headfirst at them the second he hears, I'm the Armored Titan and Bertolt's the Colossal Titan. I mean, that is the theme. We then cut to a flashback where Hanji says that Reiner, Bertolt, and Annie are registered as having the same place of origin. In addition, the female Titan attacked the right flank. Each squad was told a different location of Eren, and Reiner's squad was told the right flank. She then asks Eren how those three interacted during training. They don't remember Reiner and Bertolt interacting with Annie at all. But Armin thinks that Reiner totally couldn't be involved with Annie since the female Titan almost crushed him right before she made a beeline directly to Eren's location. Oh. Reiner also did ask where Eren was earlier too. Oh. Armin theorizes that maybe Reiner wrote Eren's location on Annie's hand using his blades. Yeah, I'm gonna stop you right there. There is no way that Reiner had enough room to do that. After that, they went to Utgard Castle to look for Krista on the front lines by using the watchtower there, and happened to arrive at the exact moment needed to save everyone's lives. Nice. But in any case, they need to have Reiner and Bertolt under watch. It is of the utmost importance. So, why is Eren being left alone with them right now? They don't want them to catch on, sure, but why would it be suspicious to stay grouped up? Also, wouldn't all of these people have watch Eren as their top priority right now? If the female Titan wanted Eren, and they work with her, then they want Eren. Everyone should be keeping an eye on Eren. Yep, they're just walking away. Okay, you guys deserve this. Eren is then like, you must be crazy. No way I'd just say yes. So Reiner is like, okay, yeah, so the speech is pretty long and there's no way I get away with letting it rock in full. But I can't really cut it down either, so I'm just gonna put the whole thing on screen right now. Pretend it is being really well acted right in front of you. Or just look up the Warriors reveal scene on YouTube, it's literally right there. I actually really like this speech. It is very interesting to have Reiner say this. I'll save most of my talk about Reiner until more specifics are revealed though. Bertolt asks Reiner if they're going to do this right now, and Reiner says yes. So Eren's GF cuts both of them. There should be more than just her here, but okay. They both transform and grab both Eren and Ymir and start running. Eren has a cry due to his relationship with the two that we didn't get to see any of before transforming to face them. This reveal goes pretty hard in isolation, though. There were quite a few neat hints leading up to it. I really like Reiner's characterization through the speech. The music is once again immaculate. Season 2 has had some banger scenes so far. This one does suffer from the sins of the past, and even adds to some of them, though. So let's talk about that. We now know that Annie had spies in the Survey Corps, meaning there were informants that could have let her know about the plan to expose her. So, if the show realized that, that would be evidence against Reiner and Bertolt being spies in the first place. In addition, Reiner should not be able to carve anything into the female Titan's hands with the visuals provided. So, if that doesn't happen, not only does Annie not know where Eren is, but there's another piece of evidence gone from their suspicions. But that's not all that happens to that scene. You see, Erwin's plan in Season 1, which I had quite a bit of compliments for, had relied on the traitor not knowing that he had given false information as to where Eren was. Reiner then relayed that information to Annie. Now, however, we have something extra. Given Hanji says their squad was told that Eren was in the right flank, I'm going to assume that that right there is just a crudely drawn Bertolt. That would mean that Reiner and Bertolt just so happen to, out of 39 possible squads, end up in the exact same one. Had that not been the case, they would have had different locations for where Eren was and smelt the trap a mile away. That is extremely nice for our heroes, huh? Actually, you know something? If Annie really was a current Survey Corps member like Erwin probably assumed, she would have had bad info of her own, then gone about slaughtering different units whilst trying to find Eren. She would not have beelined directly to Eren, meaning they would have lost even more men, possibly some main characters, and when she eventually did find Eren, she would run into the traps and then escape, with the rest of the events proceeding as is. In other words, the heroes were actually lucky that Annie was in the military police and had spies in the Survey Corps instead of just being in the Survey Corps herself. Armin is initially sure that the female Titan would wipe everyone out, but he was unaware of the trap. Running with that, she would decimate a massive amount of the Survey Corps, fall for the trap after finally finding Eren, and get away anyway, with an extremely high K to D ratio, and likely some main character fatalities. Actually, never mind, the main characters would probably pull some plot armor out of their Armin. Crap, Erwin just got lucky, didn't he? Erwin was actually absurdly lucky that they were in the same squad, and that Annie wasn't in the Survey Corps in the first place. Really gutting him this time around. We're nowhere near done with the problems this retroactively causes, by the way. Eagle-eyed viewers may have also noticed that there was a distinct lack of Reiner and Bertolt in Season 1's final arc, despite the entire Survey Corps being in on the plan and Reiner being virtually cleared of suspicion at that point. More than likely, this is because Isayama realized that they would complicate things if they were present, so he removed them and hoped you wouldn't notice. The reason I'd bet money on that rather than he simply forgot them is because of how much he foreshadowed Reiner's betrayal in Season 1. This was a hole in Season 1, no doubt, but at that point they were only good soldiers. This season confirmed their true nature though, so now it is potentially a monumental plot hole. Is there any way it isn't? Let's run through some more off-screen logistics, shall we? We are shown the debriefing of the plan to our main characters in Season 1, and given the building they're in looks similar to the Survey Corps HQ, the assumption is that that is where they are. When we learn they are summoned to the capital, it is evening. When the military police gets orders to watch them, it is morning. This means roughly about 12 hours have passed. The gap then is 12-ish hours. Maybe there was no gap between when they were summoned to the capital and when they finished the briefing. You know it's good writing when it takes the kind of faith that could move mountains to justify. Except that still doesn't work. So you expect me to believe that the planned debriefing took 12 hours and lasted the night until Annie woke up, when we are specifically told she woke up late as well, and it looks like the afternoon when they are actually being marched to the capital. Meaning there's probably more than a 12-hour gap, actually. Yeah, no, Reiner and Bertolt definitely had the opportunity to warn Annie. There is one more bit of mental gymnastics we can still try. Maybe, just maybe, Reiner and Bertolt just so happen to be some of the last ones informed of the plan for some reason, leaving no gap for them to tell Annie. Even though Armin and co. were able to escape unnoticed from the military police, so they probably wouldn't have had a problem doing that. Whatever. So aside from the absurd amount of luck that already takes, character-wise, it works. I mean, neither Reiner nor Bertolt would risk their cover to save Annie, right? So they wouldn't risk stowing away and getting caught trying to warn her. Neither of them care that much about her, right? So yeah, Reiner and Bertolt would have been in on Armin's plan against Annie, especially given how valuable they are as fighters, and Armin at that point had all the reason to believe Reiner's innocence. So where the heck were they? So that changes Season 1 and 2. In any case, there really should be more people on guard against Reiner and Bertolt than just Eren's GF. Also, Eren's GF slices both of them and they survive? Reiner stops it with his arms, and Bertolt gets his throat cut, but I guess just not deep enough to kill him. Reiner and Bertolt, with the established skill of Eren's GF and the strength of these blades, should both have lost their heads here. Plot armor is back on the menu, boys. Don't worry though, I'm sure there is an explanation. Never mind, I guess I lied. Hard though the reveal may go, trash be everything that surrounds it. Kill me. Can we get my girls back now? I still like this scene, admittedly mostly because I like Reiner as a character, but it is actually pretty bad once you strip the subjective elements away. The Warriors reveal is bad, that's the kind of hot take you're only going to get on this channel. Subscribe, by the way. Eren's GF then contemplates how they survived that, and we're shown that she actually hesitated. Oh, did you now? So you have character suddenly. There are a few problems with this. So Eren's GF has absolutely zero meaningful relationship with either of these two. Of course, you could say that it happened off screen, but with how impactful this decision will prove to be, we need to know why. Also, I wonder if she'll ever even think of this moment again. I highly doubt any contemplation will occur given AOT's track record with that, let alone some deep-found regret. In addition, I thought your whole thing was that you have to fight even though the world is cruel. Why are you suddenly hesitating? Stop pretending to be human. You know, if she actually had a character, you might be able to infer something out of it, but she doesn't. This just comes off as out of character given everything, how little it is, we know about Eren's GF. Now I just said I like Reiner, but you can probably tell I hate this character without me having to say it. Moving on, the Colossal Titan is CGI and it looks a bit unnatural. Wait, who did Bertolt just put in his mouth? One is Ymir, Who? Who the heck is this rando? So the Survey Corps attacks on Titan, and okay, yeah, that's pretty good animation. So the Colossal Titan is slow, but he still manages to blow everyone. When he blows, ODM gear cannot hook him. They ask if he's going to disappear again. Hey, they remembered. So Reiner is beating the crap out of Eren, and Eren wonders if he was holding back during training. Eren then remarks that he used to look up to Reiner due to him keeping his cool and being unselfish. Eren and Reiner had a very brief relationship from what we saw. This again comes back to me wishing that we had more to define these two's relationship before such a massive betrayal. We have now had 2 major twist villain reveals, but thanks to having no meaningful relationship with our characters, the actual betrayal comes off as hollow and arbitrary. Eren gave us very little to determine how he felt about Reiner before this, probably because he just didn't straight up say it to us, so I wish I could feel whatever Eren is referring to right now, but I can't. Eren's GF attacks on Titan Reiner, and the blades break. That's right, Reiner is Senator Armstrong. Eren nor his girl can hurt him, Jack. How is Eren gonna win? Eren then remarks that Reiner and Bertolt are truly pieces of crap and that he doubts anyone in history has ever done something as horrible as breaking into Shiganshina. With the benefit of hindsight, I laugh. So yeah, Eren hates this guy. Eren then flashes back to a technique that Annie taught him about turning an opponent's strength against them. Armin begs him not to fight. Okay, looks like it's theme time. Eren uses that move and other moves he learned and wins. What? Eren and co retreat to the wall. Okay, so he isn't charging head first, he's actually using his head. Alright. Hanji asks if Eren can try and break his legs, and Eren agrees, causing Hanji to get turned on because she spoke to a Titan. Freak. Eren says that all they have to do now is escape, since they now know their identities. How right you are. So you're gonna turn human and swing up the wall now, right? You're gonna try and get away, right? Right? Reiner breaks off his own armor to run faster and gets the jump on Eren, but Eren counters his tackle and Eren's GF is able to cut his now vulnerable legs. Holy heck, Eren just won. He used his head and strategized and now he's winning for it. Eren is going to beat Reiner. Reiner then positions himself below the Colossal Titan, so Bertolt falls off the wall and oh my crap, everything is gone! But it does nothing to the Titans and they just run away. Hold on, I'm pressing X to doubt here. So a cannon can deal damage to a Titan, but a nuclear blast just knocks Eren unconscious. Huh? So Eren should probably be dead. Again. I don't even think Reiner should come out unscathed. Eren even broke some of his armor, and yet an explosion is not able to injure either of them. Wait a second, drop all of that. John spotted. So the report reaches Pixies, and I'm just happy that John is here. Eren's GF wakes up, and she looks at the massive crater from earlier, so yeah, that definitely should have hurt both Eren and Reiner. Maybe it wouldn't have killed them, but an injured armored Titan ends the season right here. Though I could be wrong, and maybe the ground was just made out of plot. Speaking of made of the plot, wait another dang second. Is Eren's GF injured? Holy heck, it is possible. She can be killed. So this information puts us in a bit of an awkward spot, because, like, genuinely, how do you kill this character? Now we've seen she can be concussed into submission by some wind, presumably making her hit her head and knock her clean out for 5 hours. But if splatting onto surfaces at high speeds can hurt her, then this should have hurt her, and this definitely should have hurt her, and this also should have hurt her. I don't get it. She was so infallible in Season 1 that this injury is contradictory. You made her too strong for this to ever happen. Armin tells her that Eren and Ymir were taken, and I'm left wondering who that other person Bertolt threw in his mouth was. He then says, so I want to delve a bit into this. Eren loses that fight, but why? So the theme that had been constantly building up is that regardless of your anger, you cannot rush headfirst without thinking. Eren does this at first, but calms down and uses his head. Yet he loses for it. Wait a minute, what are we trying to do here? Eren intentionally retreated towards the wall to have reinforcements, causing him to be close enough to get Nagasaki. Using his head literally made him lose. If he kept fighting out in the open, it's possible he'd have won. If he doesn't win, it's the exact same result anyway. He put himself in checkmate by thinking. He should have done the opposite of what the show says he should have. How do you do that? Sure hope the show brings this up. Eren's GF is then sad because they have to get the horses over the wall using lifts, so they cannot give chase immediately. She then says that Eren is always leaving them. Armin says that, yeah, Eren does often leave us behind to rush ahead. Some more foreshadowing for you. Hannes shows up and we have a nice moment where he gives them both food and reminisces on how our 3 main characters are all still the same. He uses this and then spins it back into reassurement. He says Eren loses and gets beat up a lot, yet he never stops fighting. Wherever he is right now, he is putting up a fight. And just like back in the day, He'll hold out until they can help him out of it. He then says that he feels nostalgic and that he'll do anything to get those days back. They share a nod and then go to town on their snacks, eager to get back into action. So, in Season 2, there have been quite a bit of scenes like this. Scenes that have me go, that was pretty good. Which, is even better when they don't have an asterisk next to them. Hannes is a character I really want to talk about come the recap. So I'll save that discussion for now because I think he is a great example of what could be done with a character, and something that AOT has been lacking so far. Erwin shows up with a squad of horses from across the wall. Krista is going with them because she feels for Ymir exactly what Armin does for Eren. Connie cannot reconcile that Reiner and Bertolt are our enemies, so he has to confirm it with them first. It's a little sad I didn't get to see his reaction to that news, but okay. Hanji theorizes that they headed to the forest of giant trees in order to rest from the fight, so they head there post-haste. Reiner and Bertolt will move at nightfall. That is our time limit. Eren wakes up and finds Reiner, Bertolt, and Ymir are all the same.
Now, this is a rare opportunity. Very little moments of quiet that allow for direct characterization through dialogue, at least that isn't clunky, or conversation that isn't about immediate plot elements exist in this show before we jump straight back into the action. Most being from this season, and I would say it is a missed opportunity most of the time.
I want to know what Connie's reaction is to more traitors, especially given his experience with them recently. What about John? Heck, what about Sasha? There was a 5-hour gap between the battle and them heading back out. Make these characters, please. But right now we have a meeting between our main character, one of, if not the current best character in Ymir, and our two antagonists. Transforming would lead to death, so we must wait. Only Bertolt has his ODM gear, and Reiner has taken Eren's. This is a ripe chance for something captivating. So, what do you got? Reiner then says that they should ask for a promotion from the Survey Corps since they've been so good on the field recently. He then asks where exactly Bertolt found that cannon earlier. Bertolt then reminds him that he is a warrior, and he calms down instantly. So, Reiner has a split personality. Essentially, all of his different actions are the result of two different characters in his head. Warrior versus soldier. That whole speech during his betrayal scene was a conflict of the two natures. He started fighting for whatever reason, but became sympathetic to the people he was supposed to be spying on. He couldn't reconcile these two beliefs, so they developed separately. This is why I like Reiner. I also like him because I think he is actually a good character. Something is so fascinating about this idea. A man playing both sides in a conflict who turns into someone torn between both. In addition, it is clear by his actions that he is a morally good person. He is recklessly protective of his fellow man to the point of sacrificing himself. He likes Krista specifically for her innocence. He is completely invested in the cause of humanity, going on and on about his duty as a soldier. We can assume from this that he feels this way about both sides. Reiner is Reiner, but his personas are separated only by what side they take in this conflict. This is extremely cool, especially given his avoidance of the subject. The main reason he betrays them when he does is because he hates having to think about it. Fulfill your duty as a warrior. That is all he knows to do, but now he doesn't know what to be. Reiner's cool, okay? Other than that, Eren goes on to confront Bertolt. Bertolt let him and Armin confide in him about their experience at Shiganshina, while being the cause of it. Eren asks, Bertolt has been thinly characterized so far. His singular descriptor is to be quiet, but what will his answer be? An interesting line, considering he has done some of the most heinous things we've seen in the series so far, yet almost looks indifferent. He does not elaborate, though, which is in line with his character. Eren says, mass murderers at that. Reiner snaps at Eren because he already knows this. The two go for each other's throats, Eren telling Reiner that they made the world hell, while Reiner's fighting back, telling Eren to keep screaming because no apology could ever make a difference. Once again, the voice acting is peak acting. After a moment of silence, Eren says that he was just too naive. Reiner and Bertolt just sit there once he says this, their expressions saying much more than their words ever could. Ymir juts in now. She calls Eren childish. She then questions them about the Beast Titan. They deny knowing him, but Ymir points to their reactions to his presence at the castle. She theorizes that finding the Beast Titan is likely their key to getting home. Given their reaction, she seems to be spot on. Eren questions how Ymir knows this, and she tells him to wait. She expands, telling him that killing these two will not fix anything. Eren asks who is the enemy then. But before she can finish, Reiner interrupts, asking if there's any future for the world inside the walls. If she tells Eren nothing, she can still join them. Ymir doesn't trust them, but Reiner says that they trust her because all she wants is Krista's safety, something they need as well. She can try to escape and protect herself and others, or guarantee Krista's safety. As she contemplates, Eren repeats his question. Ymir says, she has made her choice. But I also think there is something significant about her response. Who knows? Earlier she called Eren naive. She seems to be hinting at there being more to this conflict than simply good guys versus bad. She understands that there is much more to this world than meets the eye. This likely forms a piece of her character, that being her desire to live for herself. She does not want her life to be based upon some system. Her way of individualism stems from either a lack of clarity between the two sides, or an unwillingness to engage with any of it. In the end, she sides with what will keep Krista safe. It doesn't matter who the enemy is. It's not that simple. She has seen through this truth, but Eren has not. Suddenly in the distance, smoke signals blast into the sky. The Survey Corps are closing in. They have to move now. There is so much going on that makes this scene work, from the characters involved being nothing short of fascinating to the talented voice cast to the dialogue. The dialogue, by the way, has been cleaned up massively, which is worthy of compliment. Isayama grows as a writer as the series goes on, for the most part. The scene is exploding with character. Reiner is made more than he ever was by this scene. There is now a lot you can dig out of him. Eren has some awesome interactions with everyone, from lashing out at his two biggest enemies in justified rage, to being confused by Ymir's inferences. Bertolt hints at possibly being a bit regretful, but stays quiet and unexpressive. Who is Bertolt exactly? Now we want to know. Ymir's journey has been gripping, and it continues to be as she makes a dark bargain for Historia's safety. What will be the result? I believe that this is the best scene in the show so far. Isayama juggles so many great things here that it makes me angry this quality of writing isn't more consistent. There is also a nice amount of pauses, which are not only natural for the characters to catch their breath or think, but also helps us in the pacing department to not be bombarded by the barrage of nukes being dropped. As stated, the character is the focal point of this scene, and it works for that reason. These exchanges and expressions give us so much more than any straight-up explanation has so far. Characters read the subtext rather than have an instant answer. Season 2 was my second favorite season when I first watched the show, and this scene is one I would point to as being a standout. Over in Connie's village, some troops investigate the Titan and realize the resemblance to his mom is a little too close. There's a your mom joke in here somewhere. Reiner and Bertolt discuss their goals, vaguely stating that they need Krista because she has some relation to the church, just in case Eren is not in fact the coordinate. Bertolt also says that they can come back and get Krista, Annie, and that other thing some other time. Mystery boxes. Although I should mention that despite seeing the whole show, I have no idea what he's referring to here. So, Reiner also remarks that once the mission is over, Bertolt should confess to Annie, and he blushes in reaction. It's the little things that humanize these crazy murderers. Wait, so Bertolt had a crush on Annie? Oh, so he totally would have risked warning her about the plan, huh? Wait, maybe Bertolt is more pragmatic and less emotional in his decision-making. Yeah, that's it. They are forced to move before nightfall, so Eren takes this chance to jump Reiner with his little stubs. As Eren is barely conscious, we get some history for Ymir. So she ate someone that Reiner and Bertolt knew to gain her powers, losing her memory as every Titan wielder does. Before that, however, she spent 60 years wandering as a mindless Titan in an endless nightmare. That is some heavy stuff. So that, plus the Titan at Connie's village, basically confirms that Titans are in fact humans. Given what Ymir says, it looks like normal humans become Titans, remaining conscious but unable to control their actions. So this whole time, humans have been fighting mindless slaves that feast on other humans. Gosh dang, that's just messed up. I would love to see how our heroes react to that news, Eren and Connie especially. As they retreat further into the woods, Survey Corps giving chase, Ymir predicts that Krista is probably with them. Reiner isn't willing to risk a fight with the Survey Corps, but Ymir says that she won't trust them unless they get Krista now. Whatever Reiner and Bertolt do with her, she wants to see Krista one more time. She thinks she is going to die, and if she does, she can't make sure that they keep their word. They again reassure her that they need Krista to survive and that they need to escape first. Ymir agrees that they can come back later. Essentially, Ymir has now given up any chance that the people in the walls might have. She fully believes now that Historia's only chance is with the Titans or whoever they work for. Ymir apologizes to Krista that she is going to lie to herself once again. We get a flashback. Ymir was a child who was chosen against her will to be the figurehead of a cult. She had hated lying about her identity, but she liked the way that they treated her, and above all, she loved feeling needed by others. It gave her a purpose to let others rely on her. One day, the cult was busted, and everyone pointed to Ymir for the blame. She wanted to deny it, but when she looked at all her followers, she said yes. She thought that taking fault would free everyone, but none of it mattered. Everyone was punished anyway. She thought of this as her personal punishment, not because she had lied to them, but because she lied to herself that she was useful at all, that she could make a difference for someone else. So she was turned into a Titan and forced to wander in her own thoughts for 60 years. One day, a chance encounter with the spies made her become a sentient Titan and human once again. Since then, she spent her new life not living for anyone else. She had no purpose helping anyone else, so why pretend any longer? Inside the walls, she was poor and lived off the streets, robbing people and stealing food to survive, until she heard of Krista. She had felt some kinship with her, knowing that Krista, like her, had been lying to herself. Now, she just wants to be honest with herself one more time. She needs to see Krista again, no matter the cost. In the present now, Ymir interferes with Bertolt and threatens to start a fight if she does not get her wish. They bring up that if she does, she threatens to doom Historia's future. Ymir says she doesn't care, though. She breaks down. She offers them a choice now. She can fight to delay the Survey Corps and get to see Historia again. Or she can fight both of them right here and prove just how crazy she really is. The Survey Corps then sees a light in the forest. Ymir faces them down. Deep breath now. Okay, so Ymir is the best character in this show. I know I said it was John, but holy, who wrote this character? She doesn't feel like she's on the same plane as the others. There is so much I want to dig into right now, but I can't do it yet. I've got to hold it in. Let's get back to it. Connie sees Ymir's Titan and asks her what the situation is. She stays silent, though, until Historia arrives, and she FNAF 2 jump scares. Ymir escapes back to the others, and they retreat on the armored Titan. The Survey Corps retrieves their horses and pursue them. The horses are, of course, gaining on them, and Eren's GF reminds me of her mess-up because I didn't hate her enough yet. Hey, at least it's some form of recognition, even if she says it out loud for literally zero reason and it is barely significant at all. Ymir explains her plan for herself and Historia to her. She tries to convince her that the outside world is not all that bad, that there will be no one saying it would be better if you were never even born. Historia believes that the outside world will have titans privy to eating her, and Ymir says that you just have to look past that. So, given that Ymir says nothing to contradict the outside world being full of titans, she appeals that it's just not that bad, so I guess the outside world is full of titans then. We'll get back to that in a future part. Historia says that she's not making any sense. She really isn't. Seriously, if she told Historia what the outside world is really like right now, like she totally would, that would change a lot of the events of the show, but she's not allowed to. Historia appeals to Ymir's humanity now, begging her to side with the others and fight with her. She doesn't need all the answers. She'll always be on her side, she says. Voice acting moment once again. Also, look at that expression. Historia had been absolutely terrified by regular titans. Now, on the other hand, she is confident to go against the armored and colossal titan with Ymir by her side. There is no fear in her face. I love that touch. Bertolt tries to argue back, asking if she is going to go into the walls with Historia just to die. Aside from the fact that we have had like 5 different big choices in the past few episodes, this is the final hour. Can Historia get to her? Even though she has completely given up on the people within the walls, will she sacrifice them all simply so that she can fulfill her wish? Is Ymir really, at her core, the selfish person that she believes she is? This is her response.
Flashback. End of Flashback.
As the light from the sun beams in, Historia replies, Me gusta, mi amor. There goes any chance I had of developing a Spanish audience. Anyways, this scene operates as Ymir's confession, as well as seemingly recontextualizing most of her characterization. She has been motivated by one thing since her experience as a Titan, that being self-preservation. At least, she says. As much as she tried to convince herself of otherwise, she has been selfish this whole time, dreading the punishment of both sides of the conflict. Reiner's side would kill her in order to repossess her Titan ability, and the people of the walls might kill her out of fear of said power. It is Ymir versus the world from her perspective. In that case, though, why does she seem to actually care for Historia? I do not think this is some contradiction nor lie, rather I believe it is both selfishness and selflessness at the same time. She has gone out of her way for Historia's sake in this story at the cost of herself before. She believes she is a selfish person, and she somewhat is. I believe she began as a selfish piece of garbage until she heard Historia's story. Historia grew on her, their similar backgrounds and personalities causing a friendship to start. She became so invested in Historia that her real self shined through. Not the Ymir poisoned by her trauma as orphan turned cultist turned Titan for 60 years turned street rat turned soldier, but as the person she was born as, the one who wanted to make a difference for people. Historia, on the other hand, has always seen through this. She could see who Ymir really was on the inside, rather than the selfish hardhead she presented herself as and was on some level. After everything she reveals, Historia still takes her side. These two have both hid their identities from each other, figuratively and literally, but their friendship was always between their real selves that they both saw through. Look at that, I had to actually analyze that scene to draw out all that salacious subtext from it, as opposed to being told it directly. I love that we have faith in the intelligence of our audience now. Please, do go on. Eren has woken up now as the Survey Corps reaches them. Eren's GF bursts towards her brownie bite boyfriend, and so Bertolt beckons his bro to back him up and cuff his hands from the brazen boy lover. That was a sentence that I wrote, yeah, okay. She then attempts to kill Ymir until Historia begs her to stop. Eren's GF asks if this means they're both siding with the Titans. She responds that Ymir is simply trying to stay alive, but Eren's GF bluntly puts it that she doesn't care, and only asks if she'll have to kill both Historia and Ymir to get to Eren. Yep, really making me question that earlier hesitation even more. Ymir reacts to this threat and tries to kill her. Good, I hope you succeed. Darn it, Historia stops her from interfering. Eren starts gyrating about, and John and the others teleport in. Oh yeah, this is our chance to learn how all these NPCs, and John, feel about these two traitors. Connie and Sasha beg for them to admit that this is just a prank, bro. John continues being his graveyard humor self, making him the only one of these three to actually leak character in his questioning. They ask what exactly they were thinking that whole time they were deceiving them. Bertolt is actually affected by this. We're getting somewhere with him. But then Eren's GF interferes and tells us that it actually doesn't matter and that they should only be thinking about decapitating them both right now because any hesitation could ruin the chance to retrieve her arm candy. Screw you!
And your eyebrows!
Even when she makes a point, it's about Eren. Bertolt's sanity breaks, as does mine at hearing this boiling ice cube speak. Okay, this could be incredibly interesting. Bertolt may not be here for himself or a cause he believes in, like Reiner clearly is. Instead, he may be similar to Annie, here against his will and tired of it, but without being returtled. He then says that everything they did as a soldier was a distraction. It gave them peace of mind. Though they can't take back what they've done and deserve to be hated for it, in a way, it was real. Heck, it was so real Reiner got a second personality from it. He even says they thought of them as friends. He then says, what does he mean by this? Seriously, I don't know. Let him keep talking, please. He is clearly unstable at the moment and is giving away his feelings on a silver platter. You should ask him a question, something that tricks him into giving you information. We have Armin right here. Have him say something smart, implying that they really do enjoy hurting people. Bertolt could then defend that and slip up, giving them either a little or a lot of information as to what their side wants. He is not just going to give Eren back to you. He then says exactly that. He is now calmed down. Eren's GF, ruining an opportunity for something smart yet again. Bertolt then makes it clear that someone has to stain their soul. That is why he does this. In comes Erwin now, and he has a plan. He has notably been absent from prior scenes due to getting a horde of Titans to follow him. Reiner already said he's not fast enough and normal Titans would give him trouble. Combine that with having a hostile survey corps on you and it's game over. Them stopping in the forest of giant trees and waiting for nightfall opens that possibility, and Erwin took the opportunity. Of course, there's the risk of leading Titans to the survey corps, but he is very much content with that so long as Eren survives. An intelligent plan in line with his character. Wait a second, I've been complimenting this season quite a lot. Is this the turnaround? But now it's time for another action scene, so you know it's going to go downhill. Except, wait, what? How is Erwin riding back towards Reiner? How did he get that far ahead on horseback? Are you telling me the survey corps is not at top speed trying to catch up right now? Can Erwin's squad's horses teleport? Dang it. Can Erwin actually be rewarded for being smart for once? The plot has always had to bend in some way to reward him this season, whether it is this thing or the warriors just being idiots. This plan would have been intelligent, but now it is just not feasible as it relies on him somehow getting that far ahead of everything, while the survey corps is that much behind. We didn't even get into the actual action scene and we've already got a plot hole. Reiner attempts to power through the horde, but eventually gets overwhelmed. Erwin's squad looks at the chaos, asking... Erwin replies... He then makes a speech, boosted by Daisuke Ono's performance once again. We then get to look at some military police who are observing the Survey Corps' different ideals and somehow get snuck up on by a Titan. I laughed at this. Why did we do this? We already know that the military police and the Survey Corps have different attitudes. Was I supposed to laugh at this? Did you really have an awesome speech followed by comedy? I can't think of why this goofy scene exists otherwise. The horse just doesn't care. Fricker looks at the camera. Reiner is forced to drop his guard in order to escape, leaving those two open. Erwin commands them to advance and rides right into a Titan. No, stop. Why is he dumb now? How did he miss that? The debris that forms makes it seem as if the Titan just jumped forward, meaning Erwin just kept barreling straight into the Titan. What? This is so that we can get this awesome moment where Erwin goes... while in the jaw of a Titan, telling them to move on at the expense of his life, thus proving he was not all talk. He really doesn't care for his own life as long as they win. I can't take that seriously, though, if he waltzed into a Titan like a drunken baseball bat. Baseball. I'm the one foreshadowing now. So they all start getting picked off. No names only, of course. This one guy gets his steel balls ran by a horse. Eren's GF attacks. And she misses. How could you miss? He was 3 feet in front of you. So she can react to a punch or kick from the female Titan. But when a dude jumps, nah, that's a little too much. Bit late to make her have flaws given her established skill set, especially given that it's Eren on the line here. She then gets caught by a Titan. But here comes John. My favorite of Season 1 saves my least. Don't get me wrong, Annie's stupider, but I think Annie actually has some personality to her. Armin confronts Bertolt and thinks of what exactly to sacrifice in order to make change. Then he has a thought. He asks them if they are just going to leave their good friend Annie behind. He manipulates them, a bit sadistically, telling them that they're abandoning her. He tells them they are torturing her back home. He says... He elaborates, saying they're being very careful not to kill her, but also telling them that they've even created new torture methods just for her. This gets an emotional response from Bertolt, and he tries to attack Armin, but Erwin attacks him first. Oh, so Bertolt would risk Eren to get some revenge for Annie. Yeah, that thing earlier is just a straight-up plot hole. Nice. But Armin has done it. He outplayed them using his intellect and claims his victory. Now, Erwin can use this opportunity to slash him across the chest. He survives this.
So this initially comes off as a bit of the old Bertolt plot armor again. I mean, look at the angle Erwin is coming at him from. He totally could have chopped his head off without hurting Eren at all. But it's actually pretty justified. So Bertolt has Eren wrapped around his chest, and Erwin only has one arm at the moment, so he is forced to commit to one action, and he chose freeing Eren. Granted, he got here using ODM gear, so he presumably could have just decapitated Bertolt, then swung back around for Eren, but I think ensuring Eren's safety first is fair for Erwin to do. So that's fine. But the rest of this moment is not.
Okay, so Reiner doesn't feel like warning Bertolt about Erwin, but, maybe he teleported again. Wait a second, look at this. Erwin lands back on his horse, meaning his horse somehow got in front of them again! Oh, well, Reiner absolutely could have warned him if he rode his horse straight at them. It wasn't a sneak attack or anything. Why can Erwin teleport? Now they're retreating. They win thanks to this. I would like to compliment Armin's play-by-play here, but I'm too distracted by the rest of this crap. Gah. We cut back to Ymir and Historia, and my sanity is restored. Historia gets her first Titan kill, saving Ymir. I like that quite a bit. She has started becoming a soldier for Ymir's sake. Connie and Sasha then grab Historia, and she explains that she has to go with Ymir in order to save her life. They say that she lied since Ymir would never use Historia, given she only seems to care when Historia is on the line. This would mean that Ymir has been lying. Thank you for taking my eyes off of the main plot and adding more depth to an already good character. She has been tricking Historia into believing she is still selfish and caring singularly for herself, taking advantage of Historia's good nature to save her, knowing that she will likely die regardless. She is abusing the way she is perceived by Historia in order to save her life, relying on the selfishness that she presents in order to make the most selfless sacrifice possible. Incredible. Back to our main characters, and Reiner chucks a Titan at the Survey Corps in order to hinder them. Took a page from old Dio's book. Get this, though. He throws a Titan at them in the perfect way so that it only knocks Eren and his GF off of their horse while still keeping them alive. What a shot! He did that with a horde on him as well. The monkey is about to be out of a job. You will never guess what happens next. Look who it freaking is! It's the Titan that ate Eren's mom. How inconvenient! Or convenient. How much luck has been involved in this episode alone? The show only works when Ymir and Historia are on screen and nowhere else, I swear. Let's just finish this and hope we don't ruin my girls by the end. Seriously, please don't. Please. We get a reminder flashback that Eren must control himself, even if he hates his enemy. I mean, he already did that and you punished him for it, but how about this time? Ymir gets mad at Erwin for ruining her plan, but saves him anyway. Back over to Eren, so the Smiling Titan tries to Will Smith the crap out of them, and Hannes freaking parries it. What the? Why? Look at that windup. He just takes that. No. He doesn't take it. He stops it. Do you know how hard it is to stop a slap with a windup, even when it's not a giant that can destroy a building with its bare hands? He slashes it and then laughs hysterically at the odds of this encounter, much like I am internally, telling the others to watch as he avenges their mother. This is it. He won't run away again. Anything to get those old days back. Even though he is physically strong enough to throw hands with the Titan, so he should have zero problem even without his swords. Reiner prevents the others from getting to Eren as Hannes engages their attacker. Ymir, in this weird situation, struggles to pick a side. She decides that the only thing that matters is getting Historia out of the walls to safety. Historia deduces her motive and tells her one final time that they both need to stop living for other people. This reminder flips Ymir's perspective. She knows what she must do now. Eren's GF frees Eren and he goes to transform to finish the job himself, yet he is still unable to. John falls off his horse and actually gets realistically injured. He even gets hurt right. Eren is desperately chewing himself at this point, but is still too tired to get big. As this happens, the Armor Titan is closing in and the Survey Corps is getting overwhelmed. Hannes cuts its leg, but gets grabbed. I struggle to believe that Hannes can't shake its grip. In any case, as it holds Hannes up, Eren knows that it has to be now, or everything has been for naught. So he tries and he can't do it. Hannes dies in front of him, to the same Titan that started it all back then. Eren breaks down at the fact that he still can't save anyone. All this time training, this Titan power, means nothing. Everyone is going to die, and there's nothing he can do about it. Eren's GF thanks him for everything that he's done for her. I think she tries to kiss him here, but Eren doesn't need that. He gets up, reinvigorated, to make one final stand as a human rather than Titan. Eren screams, throws a punch, and it gets blocked. However, there is some strange occurrence as it happens. Suddenly, all of the nearby Titans dash towards the Smiling Titan, devouring it. Ymir sees this, knowing what this means, and more importantly, knowing that it means there is still a chance for those inside the walls. Reiner remarks that the coordinate has ended up in the hands of the worst possible person. So, this power is called the coordinate, and it controls Titans. That's all we get about this coordinate for now, but if I'm Reiner, I am complaining about the astronomical odds that this worked out like that. Reiner then goes after Eren, but Eren expresses that he still wants to make good on his promise from the forest, and the Titans go after them now. Erwin issues a retreat, seizing the opportunity. The battle has ended. Ymir, however, looks to Historia, apologizes, and goes the other way. Historia doesn't know why, but afterwards, the armored titans cease chasing them completely. We then catch up with them right after their fight with the titans. Ymir is asked why she stayed, and she replies that she is just paying off a debt. She figured going empty-handed would leave Reiner and Bertolt in a bad spot, so she says she is just returning what she borrowed. After all, thanks to them, she was freed from her torment. Unironically giving me goosebumps mid-recording. Anyways, cut back to the walls and Erwin is recovering. His injury had consequences, unlike Levi. Oh, look, it's Levi. Wait, what happened to you, Levi? Where did you go all season? Armin informs Eren of their theory that he controlled the Titans' behavior, and John tells them that it's up to him to prove that those sacrifices were worth it. Feels like the 5th time he said this, but whatever. Eren then promises he'll learn how to control this. Hanji presents the evidence of her research, and they all conclude that it is very likely that the village was turned into Titans, and that every Titan is in fact human. Levi says that she'd basically be telling him that he's been going around killing people all his life. She replies that it's just a theory. Don't say a game theory, don't say a game theory, don't say a game theory, don't. Erwin suddenly starts smiling. Levi berates him for that and demands to know why he is. Erwin replies simply with, we'll get into that next season. Erwin remarks that this is still a step forward and that it is only a matter of time before the walls of truth fall. We then get a reveal of the human inside the Beast Titan. That is the end of Attack on Titan, Season 2. Well, what do I have to say? It's weird, but it almost feels like some of the criticisms I made about Season 1 were addressed, even though this show is already out. The dialogue is, for the most part, quite improved. There is a legitimate use of subtlety and subtext in the dialogue, as well as it being very natural and character-based during the times that it isn't. On that note, the character work impressed me quite a bit this season. I'll just say that before delving into specifics. The plot, on the other hand, while I think it is better, is still absolutely in tatters. The plot contrivances, plot armor, plot conveniences, and plot teleportation are abounding. It gets to the point of hurting some characters, namely Erwin. We have that moment where Hannes parries a Titan, not only bringing into question Hannes' loss to said Titan, but also the strength of the Titans compared to that of humans. We know from Hanji that Titan limbs are lighter than they look, assumedly because of the humans within, but the combination of these two scenes is problematic, to say the least. We have seen Titans shred through buildings, and even seen specifically the Smiling Titan lift Eren's mother from the rubble, which no human was capable of doing. So they are stronger than humans, but humans can also fistfight them, and they can crush people, despite being light enough for people to block them out. This creates a myriad of questions about how strong Titans are exactly, which, as you could imagine, shakes up a lot of the story. I have been accused once or twice of nitpicking, so I think this makes for a perfect way to talk about it. People who toss the criticism of nitpicking at me, or people who make similar content to me, often do it to dismiss the criticism entirely. Nitpicks, ultimately, are small objective flaws in a production that doesn't have any significant overall effect. The car in the background of the Fellowship of the Ring is in fact a flaw, same for the Starbucks cup scene in Game of Thrones, but neither are something that destroys the entire story. We as the audience are able to understand that a mistake was made during production and that they are not saying that cars exist in Middle-earth or Starbucks exists in Westeros, yet it is still a flaw nonetheless, just not a massive one. I bring this up because a lot of people seem to conflate the fact that something being criticized is a small moment and therefore think it fits the description of nitpicking, but nitpicks are not that simple to categorize. This moment with Hannes right here is an example of what is not a nitpick, a direct contradiction to what we know is true from the writing. It is, in fact, a short moment that is never brought up again, but, as I've explained, that has more than enough ripple effects to be considered significant. I would argue that most of my criticisms share this trait. A clunky line or two may be a nitpick, but the consistency of it in Season 1 was indicative of a bigger problem than just one bad line. Saying X character should have died is not a nitpick just because it happened quickly. That would change the entire story. To be clear, I am not saying I don't nitpick. I totally do occasionally, but it also goes the other way. There's a reason why I use the word neat so much. It is a small but positive touch to something, yet that never gets any pushback. You will be hard-pressed to find someone averse to my complimenting of something like AOT's foreshadowing of future events, small moments though they often are. Spin that negatively though, and suddenly it's nitpicking. It's a double standard a lot of people have because something they like is involved, and I get it. I like things and have biases too, surprisingly enough, but simply throwing around the buzzword of nitpick at criticisms neither invalidates it nor means it is inconsequential. In fact, most of the observations that I make throughout this series, if you scrutinize them a little bit further, you will find have that ripple effect. That is my stance on nitpicking and actually significant critique, and how people often mischaracterize the latter as the dreaded nitpick, intentionally or not. This is the standard I have been using and will continue to use when dissecting media in the future, so I figured it was worth pointing out there. Back to the season overview. There are a few things that are just dropped or not brought up. Who was that second guy that Bertolt grabbed? Why did you show us in a way that makes it look significant? Where, in the ever-loving LeBron, was Mike in Season 1 when it was relevant? Where, in the ever-hateful chicken, awfully hot coffee pot, orange door hinge, was Levi for this entire season? He just says, yeah, we gotta split up now, and then shows up at Erwin's hospital bed at the end of the season. Where were you? Just kidding, I actually did manage to find Levi. So here he is in this one shot, and he's watching Pastor Nick. This is happening while Eren is fighting the armored titan. You refused to bring your strongest soldier to a moment where the literal hope of humanity, Eren, is putting himself in danger so that he could watch the church guy. Sure, Levi is probably pretty well equipped to, handle Pastor Nick. You know what else he's well equipped at handling? Titans. Erwin, what are you doing? You know what? I've said his name so much already. Let's just jump into the character section, starting with Erwin Smith. It is honestly a little insane how borked Erwin was by this season. Now, this is probably the only character I would argue is worse in 2 than in Season 1, with the possible exception of Eren's GF if you count her as a character at all. The amount of smart decisions he makes this time round pales in comparison to the establishment of new elements that retract from his intelligence, or the plot bending in impossible ways to facilitate payoffs that work in isolation, or still destroy elements of his competence. Multiple of his best agents are absent from moments that he is aware determine the fate of humanity, simply because we need to introduce an upcoming antagonist, so he needs to beat up someone competent, going as far as to make him cry. Or Levi is off doing some mission that literally anybody else could have done, causing him to separate from the others completely. No. Wait. I am just realizing this now. Why did Erwin send Eren to watch Reiner and Bertolt, despite directly knowing that if they are the traitors, Eren is the only thing they would want? Oh, this is so much worse than I thought. Not only does he keep Levi away when he would have been a monumental help in every part of this season, but he friggin' puts the hope of humanity in danger despite gaining nothing for it. Erwin is a tactician, carefully considering the cost of every decision and the benefit of the ideal result, so long as it advances humanity's interests. I would describe him as grim efficiency, but now he is actively going against his own goals. Why? Why would you do that? He actively puts humanity itself in danger for no benefit to himself or others so that the plot can happen. He forgets about some of his strongest soldiers in favor of doing nothing. He misses the titans that are right in front of him so he can make a coup. He legitimately unlocks quick warping in order to make a plan work correctly. How does he get so far ahead of everyone? Did you assassinate Erwin? You had him so well in Season 1. How did you manage to fail this? Was it a fluke the first time? In addition, what exactly did we gain from him this season? This season does nothing to advance Erwin except backwards. My lord, why? This is not Erwin Smith, who was one of the highlights from the first season and who I would say is the second best character of it. But now he might be worse off than Annie. At least Annie was never established as a mastermind planner, though she was at the very least supposed to be competent. The show seems to, much like Annie, be unaware of the fact that he makes multiple idiotic decisions despite having less screen time than before. Erwin, on my first watch through of the show, was a character that I had the utmost respect for, as I believed he was one of the few who escaped assassination. Now I sit here, realizing that it did in fact happen, and am forced to reconsider my perception of him as an intellectual and a character. The very things that inform his character, his brain and cold calculations, are scrapped completely, given how he doesn't give any of these decisions any thought. This is not my GOAT. Okay, how about the main three again? What's good with Eren? As far as development, this season really wanted to hammer home a point that you must think before you act. This is also going to verge partly into theme since we're here, that Eren's rage-filled vengeance and violent tendencies must be put on pause in order to operate most effectively. Except, we will have Eren lose for using his head and seemingly drop this idea entirely come the finale. They play that flashback of Eren's mother telling him the theme, only to have him try and punch the smiling titan, and it worked. At best, you could say this was one final Hail Mary. At worst, this is him lashing out in anger, again, without thinking, the exact opposite of the message. and winning for it. We give Eren numerous reasons to hate everyone involved and give him a conversation with the antagonists, only to have him promise that he will give them the worst death possible. He uses his head not to try to transform again, sure, but was that really the payoff you set up? That was it? Why play the flashback in the final episode if it wasn't going to come into play, or be straight up contradicted instead? Eren has had less screen time this season and seems to have remained the same. Static characters are not a problem, but the season is presenting it as if he learned something. What did he learn? Charging headfirst in anger has gotten him more wins, and thinking has gotten him more losses. What is this? There was an idea I had that could have been pretty potent. That being, Eren would acknowledge that advice from his mother, but find that charging in anger without thinking is giving him the better results. This gives you an avenue to take Eren towards his downward spiral into what he eventually becomes. He feels he has been rewarded when he acts with his anger and hate first, so why stop now? This could have been what they were going for, but then where's the acknowledgement? Nor will we, spoilers, ever hear of this lesson again. So that was Eren. But now for Armin. He stays pretty consistent this season in regards to his intelligence, and nothing comes around at the end to hinder him this time. He gets that one moment at the end where he masterfully baits Bertolt. Other than that, yeah, that's actually about it. Come to think of it, this character had less screen time than Eren's GF this season. He had that scene with Hannes, sure, and that was nice, but there's not really much extra this season added to him. This is not necessarily a criticism given that he is just not focused on much this season, but that's it for Armin this time around. How about that one I just mentioned, Eren's GF? So, she is the exact same as Armin for the most part, at least in terms of development. Same old pathetic excuse for a character. She only ever has Eren on the brain. Still a sponge. That moment where she hesitates against Reiner and Bertolt could be a potentially strong idea to characterize her further. Except, everything we know about her paints her in a way that makes hesitating like that impossible. Everything we know about her relationship with Reiner and Bertolt is basically nothing. The problem with her caring for only Eren and Armin, but mostly Eren, is that she should easily put them both above her comfort or whatever. On top of it being Eren, her number one Pookie Bear, it's also kind of the fate of the world. You could call it character assassination, and you'd be right if she had a character. After that, she is just back on the Eren train and doesn't care about Reiner or Bertolt's lives. Now that's what I call an arc. Almost as if we only made her hesitate because we wrote ourselves into a corner. She is still a horrendous character, but somehow worse in Season 2. Absolutely pathetic. Let's get off of that before I grow an aneurysm on my left big toe. Levi is in this season for about 2 seconds, and I quite enjoy his one scene with Pastor Nick. Alright, that's him down. Now for the other Survey Corps members. Connie was a rather blank slate coming off of Season 1, and remains as such by the end of the season. His traits, namely his lack of intelligence or bravery, lack any change or growth either, but that is likely because it is a setup for later, I'm sure. That being said, he seems to act courageously in order to save Reiner, but this is unnoticed by the author. Unfortunately, the harrowing realization that his family were turned into the very things he kills for mankind's sake is almost entirely brushed off. As distraught as he is in the moment he first believes it, we directly skip over his reaction to the confirmation of this news and instead just show him reporting it at the end of the season. It very clearly affected him, but his exact feelings in the moment are for some reason unimportant for us to know. There is also a moment where Reiner and Bertolt betray them and escape. He is separated from the rest and expresses concern for their safety, especially given what they have so recently conquered together. And yet again, his reaction to their betrayal is skipped, and next we see him, he's desiring confirmation of it from them personally. The show doesn't seem to care about him. Every opportunity for something special is forgotten or glossed over. 37 episodes, and I feel that I know nothing about him despite him being a primary character. Perhaps the biggest example of missed opportunity for him is the 5-hour gap between the Armored Titan's escape and Eren's GF waking up. While Connie is one of the more spotlighted characters this season, and development, or at the very least setup, was the intention of that spotlight, I still feel nothing about this guy. Speaking of nothing, Sasha Blouse, ladies and gentlemen. Her origin story does nothing but confuse me, bro. This is painted as some form of character establishment, but it tells me either that she went through an arc off screen, or accomplishes an arc about her lack of reserve in desperate situations when she sees a little girl is on the line. In one episode. That is very silly. After that moment, she is back to just liking food. It is worth noting that she teleports onto the Armored Titan near the end and has no fear to mention, but that might just be because we don't care about her since she's had her episode already. She was intolerant, and then she wasn't, off screen. She was scared, and then she wasn't. I'm repeating myself because there is nothing else of interest. She has nothing to offer. She exists mainly for comedy. Laugh at the fact that she likes food. Isn't that funny? Boogie2988 is a laughingstock because of his personality, not because of his high caloric intake. Though it helps. Yes, I just called Boogie better than a character from Attack on Titan. He at least makes me laugh when he lies about cancer.
The N-word is just a word.
So say it.
Oh no, I'm not going to say it on camera.
I have been pretty negative in this summary so far, but luckily we only have good characters left. Okay, I said that Erwin was good, but trust me, it's for real this time. Let's talk about the real main character of this season. John! Just kidding. Ymir time. John is good, by the way. The show just doesn't care about him again. At least he still has some personality. Ymir, on the other hand... Okay. So, I have a lot to say. What a freaking tragic story. Ymir's past can be summed up by 2 words. Bad luck. She was born poor and homeless, only to be brought into a cult which was against the law, so she was punished to live as a Titan for 60 years. Only with her thoughts of everything she's been through, while also living a mindless life of hunting fellow humans. Going through all of this, she simply wanted one thing, to have a person that relies on her, that she can be useful to. She didn't want to lie to anyone, so she convinced herself that it was out of her hands. She had to keep the lie so that she could help these people. Yet she could, in reality, do nothing for them in the end. When it came down to it, she had no purpose. If she had not existed, nothing would change. Why did she ever think there was something she could do? That she had something to offer? How selfish of her. Does she think she's special? She deserves this torture. Every second of it. Until one fateful day, for the first time, she got lucky. She caught a break. She regained her senses, and the only thing she could do was laugh at this farcical fate. She took this opportunity to stop lying, to live for herself and herself only. Nobody else needs her, so the only point of her life is her life. Until she finds kinship in another, similarly lying to herself. Now she only wants to show her what lessons she learned already. Historia, on the other hand, is different to her. She is, despite everything, still innocent in some ways. She cares for other people, despite going through very similar things to Ymir. Ymir now wants to save Historia only, living for someone else once again in the hopes that, this time, she can make a difference. I love this character. She is so freaking interesting. Her motivation is so intoxicating. The way she hides her true feelings, though somewhat obvious, is much appreciated. Her outlook on life is a realistic one from the life she's led. Her friendship with Historia is awesome. The chemistry in their dialogue creates some of the best scenes in the show. The mystery to her was fascinating to watch unfold, mostly because I was actually made to care about this character. It keeps you guessing. There is a lot that you actually had to dig from her as opposed to having it told to you. Her morality is fascinating. She is selfish because she lives for herself. Then again, she cares about Historia even more than herself. She is invested in helping someone else not live the life that she has. But she doesn't recognize this hypocrisy. She lacks self-awareness. This is gripping given her absolute disdain for anyone hiding their true self. That implies that, well, she thinks this is her true self. She has tricked herself into believing she is a selfish, irredeemable person in order to distract herself from the reality that she is, in fact, not practicing what she preaches. You can see that in her lies to Historia that she is doing this to save herself. She is also trying to make herself believe what she is saying, that she is just selfish. But what she really wants is what she denied she could give so long ago. To be her friend, to have someone rely on her. The character work that we give her leaves me flabbergasted that this is the same author who made the first season. It does not feel like a character from this show. You want to know what's crazy? She's dead. She is gone. She never shows up again. In 12 episodes that were not even entirely about her, she manages to be an extremely deep character. The levels of complexity of her moral compass is very enticing. Ymir going out of her way to risk being found out as a Titan shows us that she is willing to go that far for Historia, and to a lesser extent, that random guy, showing us that she does care for people other than Historia. At the same time, she seems to be much more of a realist when it comes to the world. Given that she comes from outside the walls, her having given up hope implies that they are just that big of a threat, which bolsters the world building. This is what you can do with an actual character. Everything around them can be boosted if they are good. It also means that the coordinate is so significant that it alone is able to change her mind. This is pretty basic stuff, accomplishing 2 things at once, but in AOT it's usually just, this is the scene where they talk. This is an action scene where character doesn't matter, and then alternate. I'm not done with Ymir, by the way. Of course, there is her final scene, where she leaves them in order to repay her debt. Her sympathy for Reiner and Bertolt's friend's death, and her feeling of there being an unpaid debt, is fueled by her primary desire of being useful to someone else. Her character was always leading towards a sacrifice, and I think it is a neat subversion to have it not be for Historia. Of course, it is not made good simply because it is a subversion, Ryan, but because it makes sense, on top of tricking you. After getting a second chance at life and 60 years of torment, as well as possibly feeling guilty for killing someone, she fulfills both her want and her need. She owes having met Historia to them both, and she seems to believe in more than this just being a simple conflict, so she doesn't really think there are bad guys judging by her who knows line. There are some tiny flaws I have with her, like her random out loud reading of a different language in front of Reiner, and of course her crazy talk because she can't describe what the outside world looks like to the audience just yet. But that's about it. Now, of course, let's get to that big choice she made earlier on in the season, that being to keep her Titan powers to herself. Historia mentions that it was likely because she didn't want to put herself in danger. Is that true? I think partly. So, in a way, Ymir is somewhat selfish. Above all, of course, all she wants to do is keep Historia safe. Historia is in the Survey Corps when she learns about her, so she is constantly putting herself in danger. If Ymir had revealed herself, she would likely be taken aside and played a similar role to Eren in Season 1, or be executed, and either possibly makes her unable to protect Historia, meaning it risks both of their safety even though she has no hope for the people within the walls. So before she met Historia, she has all the reason to keep herself safe, but after she meets Historia, she has all the reason to keep Historia safe, and keeping this secret accomplishes both of those. This is completely in character, and Ymir is overall fantastic. To all the people who thought I hated the show based off of the Season 1 video, no, I was being fair, Season 1's just bad. So now let's pivot to her sister from another minister, Historia Reyes. When Ymir and her first interact on the snowy mountain, we see her in a very similar light to Ymir. She is selfish. Having been through similar poor luck to Ymir and forced to join the Survey Corps, she is in a terrible spot. She wants to die. However, she can't just die any normal death, so she will prove them wrong by showing the quality of her character. Of course, she is doing this partly because she believes them. There is nothing worthwhile in her. They're going to be sorry for saying that, though, and will only be able to conclude that she was a hero. Ymir had her scouted out due to her own personal experiences and calls her out for it, causing her to become instantly overwhelmed with guilt. She is absolutely distraught at the idea that she just doomed a man for some superficial stunt. This shows us that she is still empathetic and allows us to feel sympathy for her. After that, the next we see her is as a pure-hearted, innocent person who everyone admires. This shows us that, despite being desperate to prove herself, she really is genuine in her kindness. This is in direct contrast to Ymir, who hides her inner nature with a selfish exterior, and Historia, who hides her selfishness with purity. She is a bit similar to Sasha, who she encouraged to be more of herself, alongside Ymir. In fact, she even has an arc of learning to live for herself more in a flashback, just like how Sasha had an arc where she learned tolerance. The difference is that we see the moment that caused change in Historia as opposed to building blocks before doing the arc off-screen. In addition, it actually adds to the character of Historia. What does Sasha learning tolerance change about her the way that Historia learning to live for herself does? It's not even the completion of Historia's arc, it's the start. Her development is what she starts from this scene. She still carries herself the same way, she just doesn't let other people's descriptions of her value define her anymore. This makes her kindness so much more meaningful. Sasha being tolerant or brave changes nothing about her just liking food. Historia being kind because she values life due to her experience being outcast and undervalued does. The tender goodbye that they share while Ymir is in her Titan form is a great analogy for her loving the person underneath the beastly exterior. Ymir and Historia are how you do characters right. Their relationship is a roller coaster, from heartwarming to heartbreaking. You have my finest compliments for these two. Ymir is also dead, so the chance of her being assassinated is pretty small. Still not impossible though, I suppose. I am ecstatic to see what we do with Historia in the future, and this has restored my faith in the characters of this show. That ends my unbridled glaze of these two and their relationship. I could easily go on, but I've spent over the length of the script of Season 1 already, and this season has less than half the episodes. I also think I've illustrated exactly why these characters are great. So how about our Titanic antagonists? We'll begin with the Beast Titan. So Dio is quite intriguing. This season does a good job of building the mystique around him, while also making him appear threatening. His inquisitive interrogation of Michael, however bullcrap this character being shoehorned in as the best soldier boy ever is, displays his intelligence and his character. He has a plan, and he wants to know as much as possible before executing it. His gauging of the abilities of his opponents makes him a new kind of antagonist for the series, given all the others have in some way been put in a scenario where they reveal themselves, but he will likely only show up on his own terms. His deadly accuracy and size makes him a fierce opponent, given his range up close and also being able to engage from a distance where he cannot be cut. That moment where he feigns being unintelligent is especially menacing that he knows that much. That's all we have on the Funky Monkey for now. Let's turn to the two characters that are single-handedly responsible for the horrors we saw unleashed in Season 1. Bertolt and Reiner, the colossal and armored titan. Warriors. Bertolt is a character we had absolutely no info on, yet despite Reiner being more highlighted, we managed to get a lot on him in no time at all. In the few moments of him talking, we come to understand him and Reiner. He plays very reserved, but the situations we find him in cause him to spill his guts. Another example of strong writing. And that Isayama doesn't need to rely on unnatural dialogue scenes in order to expo dump. He absolutely hates doing what he does, but takes it on simply because someone has to get their hands dirty. He seems to fully believe in his side, but is reluctant only at the idea of killing people, in stark contrast to Reiner. He values the relationship he made with his fellow soldiers, and it pains him to do what he does, even though he believes it is right. He uses his time in the Survey Corps in order to block out the horrificness of his actions from his mind, going as far as to say that the friendship they had was real to him. He has a crush on Annie, but is too shy to confess, further humanizing him and allowing us to see that in a different world, perhaps he would just be an average guy. His sentiment that he felt sorry for them is also very real. A reluctant idealist who is quiet and reserved but will let emotion overtake him when he believes a friend is being hurt. That is Bertolt. Expertly done. His partner in gigantic crime, Reiner, is distinguished by his instability. Prior to this season, he had expressed a desire to return home, but that was before he had undergone extensive training and missions with the Survey Corps. He sympathized with their cause, likely because living among them had humanized them to him, and also because he knows what it feels like to have a friend eaten in front of him, whether it is Marcel or Marco. This causes a split in his psyche, creating the two distinct personalities, warrior and soldier. His constant preaching of the value of being a soldier tells us just how invested he has become, and we infer that he was likely as invested in his other cause until this conflicted him. The two personalities are completely separate, as shown when we see him shift into soldier and forget everything that happened after Ymir transformed while in the trees. He resents himself for becoming soft in his own eyes, calling those around him idiots, trying to demean them to invigorate his passion for being a warrior. But it doesn't work, so he forces himself to move right then and there, because he hates thinking about the two sides that he has become engulfed in, likely because he is unable to differentiate them now. He drops it all in favor of going home now, so he does not need to think about it anymore. The conversation in the tree shows us that he really feels guilt for everything he has done, but knows that no apology will make things right. He even offers Eren to join them so that no one has to die, so that he doesn't have to kill anyone else. These two have a very brotherly relationship. They talk casually in the trees, Reiner explaining that he should confess to Annie. He knows Bertolt well enough to see the signs, and we can assume that that goes both ways. The difference between them is their characteristics, which shape the way they see both sides. Reiner probably started as an idealist for his cause, on fire to be a warrior and eventually see home once more, but he became invested in the people he had brought so much suffering to, causing that inner conflict to be personified in the soldier, and his confusion between the two, blending his ideals together. Bertolt, though, gives off the impression that he really does think he is doing the right thing, he just hates what has to be done. He enjoyed his time in the Survey Corps, but it was never what he believed in. He held steadfast to his cause, though he was reluctant to kill and betray, especially after he knew the people personally, but he would still do it again, refusing to give Eren up even though he had just broken down his true feelings. These two characters make great antagonists and are rather competent in how they go about themselves. Unfortunately, some of their Season 1 actions have been retroactively undermined. Their actions during the 57th expedition are extremely unfortunate if they ended up in the same squad. What is inexcusable, however, is them being absent from the assault on Stohes. No matter how you slice it, it will be a mix of contrivances and incompetence, simply to varying degrees, and, given Bertolt's characterization, contradictory, since he did nothing to help Annie. Since we've basically combined plot and character analysis at this point, I might as well also mention that the plot around them is sometimes extremely shaky. It must bend in order for them to win, either having Eren's GF hesitate, Levi be completely absent, or Erwin send Eren after them, or it must bend so that they can lose, Erwin teleporting twice being the main example. They are still great, but are undermined in the execution of the abysmally shaky plot around them. Back to the good guys, what about Hannes? I mentioned he was an example of something being done right earlier, and what I mean by this is that he is a great example of a character who dies whilst being an actual character. Through his dialogue, we come to understand everything about him in a natural way that is based on the building blocks of Season 1. In that first season, he was lax and lazy, always getting drunk. He enjoyed the peace so much that he took it for granted, until that one day destroyed everything. On that day, he desired to save everyone of the Yeager household, but when faced directly with a Titan, he ran. He may have made a difference, but he was too scared. At the same time, he may have lost, which would doom the children as well. So he made the best decision he could, getting the kids out of there and living to fight another day. He later broke down, confessing to Eren that he was right about him, and the main thing that motivated him to run was that he was a coward. This is a real person. He has traits, motivations, personality. He loves drinking, he cherishes peace to a fault, making him lazy, but he absolutely cares for people, and is humble enough to admit his failure. Catching up with him in Season 2, he cheers up our main cast with stories of the old days, saying that this will be just like that. He then uses that to transition into his newfound goals, being that he will give anything to make sure people can experience peace once again, even his life. This dialogue is straightforward, but I would argue natural, as he then declares he'll be joining them in getting Eren back. He is letting them know that he has found the resolve to not do what he once did. We also often see him in the background going about things, which is just a neat little detail. Aside from him parrying the Titan, we then see him loving the chance to get his run back. He won't back down now. He tells them to watch as he avenges their mother. He puts up a fight, but in the end he loses, giving his life towards the idea that one day there will be peace, even if he cannot delight in it himself. Hannes has very little total screen time, but the way this death is executed is pretty good. It feels like he had much more to give, like the life of a person was actually cut short. Contrast that with the Levi squad, who gave us Nice Girl and Cocky Guy who bites his tongue. As for the other members, you'd be lucky to remember their names. The execution of this death makes it feel earned, even though you probably predicted it when he told them everything on the wall. He is not deep like Ymir, but maybe he could have been if we got to know him more. Maybe he would be if his life continued. But it didn't, and that manages to make it feel like a real loss. This concludes the character segment. Let's now jump into something that I touched on in Season 1, but only really materialized in Season 2, the themes. We have been through the theme of blind rage towards people you hate and how it was botched. But what about some others? The theme of individualism is a theme that was hinted at by Annie in Season 1, but is divulged into by Season 2 in an extremely remarkable way. The reason being is we have characters that personify said theme this time. Ymir and Historia express a desire for the other to live for themselves, to take off the shackles that others have told them exist, and get your revenge by rising above them. They both have a friendship that nudges the other towards that exact thing. They both have been dealt a poor hand and refuse to fold. They are each their own person, although they have similarities. Ymir especially displays this theme with her reluctance to pick a side at all, helping those outside the walls despite what they've done. She doesn't seem to believe in a right or wrong side and simply goes with what she believes to be right. She refuses to conform herself to either system and encourages Historia to do the same. Where Historia will go from here will likely continue this theme. There is also Reiner and Bertolt, both of whom are like the people Annie spoke about. Normal people stuck in the system, unable to go against it. Reiner has gone so far as to pledge himself to the system, but that faith is shaken when he questions which cause is right, given he likely only allowed his side to think for himself prior. Bertolt seems to believe in his side still, but is unwilling to carry out his duty. He is almost exactly what Annie is referring to, which is a neat detail given his crush on her. The theme of the individual's place in warring factions is very well realized in Season 2, and is fascinating to watch unfold. We also have the theme of gray morality. There are plenty of hints we are given that tell us this conflict is more complex than simply good versus bad. The antagonistic characters seem sympathetic and human, and see their actions as a necessary evil rather than as justice. Of course, we don't know the exact cause, so I can't speak on that just yet, but we have plenty of interesting tidbits that guide us towards the conclusion that maybe there are no bad guys, just war. That's 2 out of 3 themes being well done. Not bad. Okay, now it is time. Is this better than Season 1? Drum roll, please. Yes, it is. The main characters actually function and are not ruined by the end by some bullcrap. We did Erwin very dirty this time around and gave him some payoffs that work in isolation but are botched by the setups. Eren and Armin are advanced in very little ways this season, but we easily take that over what happened to them by the end of Season 1. Mikasa appears to contradict her literal only established character trait of protecting Eren no matter the cost because the world is cruel, but you have to fight anyway. Don't know how you assassinated her, but you did. But the characters of Ymir, Historia, Reiner, and Bertolt are the absolute standouts and are better than anything Season 1 had to offer even without the assassinationisms. I can't give too many points for them though, since this is an ensemble and they are less than half of the cast. Connie and Sasha make an attempt to have character, but ultimately flop. And Hannes is good and provides an impactful death for the first time in the series. The themes are mostly well done, as we've discussed, and these themes are infinitely more interesting than The World is Cruel. Not saying that one was bad, but the execution of Season 2's is what separates them. The plot is broken and cheated in a lot of ways yet again, but Season 1 still comes out on top as far as garbage plot. The world building is vastly improved by this season, even though that was one of Season 1's strengths. In addition, we have a lot more mysteries like the church plot, the overall goal of the Titans, the Beast Titans' goals, the motivation of the warrior's cause, and of course what the coordinate is exactly. The answers to these questions lie onwards, but for now I am giving Attack on Titan Season 2 a 5 out of 10.
Though, ask me on a certain day and I might give it a 6, but
It is very, very close to a 6. I really want to give it a 6, but I think the plot is just too shaky in order for it to be that, and then some of the characters got done dirty. I think it's a 5. Alrighty, well, that wraps up video 2 of this series. Thank you all so much for watching. If you made it this far, please like, comment, subscribe, all the YouTube stuff, yada, yada, yada. I want to thank you guys for all of the support that I got on my first video, 100 views in 5 days. That's pretty cool. I very much hope that you will continue to support me in the future. I thank you to anyone who does. And yeah, with that said, see you later. I also highly encourage you to come back next time. Season 3 is going to be very fun. Sasha enters, and the enters. Jeez. They could potentially reclaim Malwaria. I don't know. We'll see how it's executed. Isayama druggles. That's not it. Anyways, Isayama I want to die. Hey, it's me, Freak Bob.
Freak Bob, yes.
Psycho Mantis. It can't be. You died in Zanzibar. No, wait, that's Grey Fox. Fudge! This is gripping, giving her... This is gripping. Gripping? And I wonder... Kanye West. Bertolt asks Reiner if they're going to do... I've been recording too long.